Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Don Arleth, and you're watching World News. Greenland wants more NATO protection for its territory. The Greenlandic government has announced it wants to ramp up efforts to ensure increased defense from the alliance. This announcement comes after Washington restated its ambitions to acquire this autonomous territory of Denmark for the United States. The Trump administration is citing national security concerns as the reason behind the potential acquisition. The bid has been met with strong opposition from European capitals, but this week, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is planning to meet with Danish and Greenlandic officials for talks on the issue. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadepool said on Monday that NATO allies have to work together for security after his talks with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington, D.C. The minister also said that the talks had been friendly and intense and underlined the importance of the alliance between European countries and the United States.
As I just mentioned, at the last NATO summit, the United States of America clearly committed itself to the defense of Europe and to Article 5. And that is how we perceive the United States of America, both in the political and military parts of NATO, namely fully on Europe's side, fully committed to defending law and freedom in the Western world. There is no doubt about that whatsoever, and I would advise us Europeans not to question things that are being questioned in Washington. We Germans, we Europeans, need reliable partners in Washington. That was also the topic of my talks with Marco Rubio today. Just as the United States needs us as a partner, our partnership is strong. We are capable of action, and we are determined to further expand this partnership. That is why our joint commitment to a just peace in Ukraine is crucial, because there too people are fighting for freedom and values of Europe and the United States. This also shaped our talks today as we realized that we are on the same side of history, on the same side of values, and on the same side of interests.
Anti-regime protests in Iran continue to escalate as international leaders respond to the unrest. Footage from the protests slowly emerges online despite internet blackouts imposed by the Iranian authorities. Recently released footage is time-stamped as filmed on January 8th, meaning the recordings of what's happening in Iran are reaching the rest of the world with almost a week's delay at times. Cars set ablaze on the streets, flares fired into the night sky, chaos. That's just a part of the new reality in the Iranian capital, Tehran. There's also footage released on social media from inside a morgue following a violent crackdown on protesters. Human rights organizations estimate the number of protesters killed so far could be as high as 2,000. In response to the situation, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that any country doing business with Iran will be subject to a 25% tariff when trading with Washington, effective immediately. Ukraine continues to suffer constant attacks by Russia. Drone and missile strikes aimed at subduing and wearing down society are putting increasing strain on Kyiv. But what's a cruel, calculated game for Moscow means survival in extreme conditions for thousands of Ukrainians living with no heating or electricity in freezing temperatures. Anastasia Yanchenko brings this stark reality to life in her latest report.
There is thousands of people who are without light and warm water right now. It's minus 20 degrees outside, so it's very, very painful to live this reality every day. My sister is sleeping under 3 blankets because of how cold it is at home.
This is how Ukrainian tennis player Marta Kostyuk described the cruel reality in her homeland. Kostyuk's words, spoken after losing in the final of the Brisbane International, sparked widespread reactions across the international media. Not having heating has left many homes frozen on the inside, With around 1,000 residential buildings in Kyiv still without heating or electricity, the city continues to struggle with outages following a large-scale Russian strike overnight on January 9th, which was aimed at destroying energy infrastructure. Experts say this is a part of a deliberate tactic by the Kremlin.
This is done to subdue, so to speak, the resilience of society and to wear it down so that the exhausted public demands concessions from the authorities during the negotiations.
And the Kremlin isn't finished. Overnight on Sunday, Russia launched another wave of drones towards Kyiv, hitting a non-residential building, which ignited a fire. According to Ukrainian authorities, the city and parts of the surrounding region have switched to emergency power distribution, meaning residents face at least 10 hours a day without electricity.
The damage to the power grid is extremely serious and extensive following unprecedented strikes. Low temperatures and inclement weather are placing additional strain and stress on the power grid.
The crisis extends beyond Kyiv. For the past week, energy and critical infrastructure have been under attack on a daily basis, leaving residents in the Odessa, Kharkiv, Dnipro and Donetsk regions facing severe conditions.
It is probably the most critical week of this winter. And of course, Russians waited for this weather. We knew there will be an attack because everyone can see the weather forecast. And Russians want to have humanitarian catastrophe.
Mobile shelters help residents cope with the freezing conditions, offering warmth, a place to charge devices and hot tea.
It was very cold, and there were these attacks. My child is scared. He is 13 years old. He is very afraid of the attacks.
For some, the shelters provide a brief respite from the harsh reality.
I haven't had electricity at home for about 55 hours, so in order not to cry, I am laughing. We are playing cards now.
To help Ukraine cope with the blackouts, its allies are stepping up. Norway will provide a new support package to address the country's urgent energy needs.
We are today announcing a new support package for immediate release, $400 million US dollars, 200 of which will go to immediate energy needs.
On the 12th of January, Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine entered its 1,419th day, one day longer than the Soviet Union's fight against Nazi Germany in World War II. And Moscow shows no sign of stopping. Anastasia Yanchenko, TVP World.
Polish President Karol Nawrocki began a two-day visit to London on Monday to meet Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Polish diaspora. TVP World spoke to members of the community about how Poland is seen in the United Kingdom today, as British media increasingly portray the country as a rising European power.
A meeting with the Polish diaspora was President Karol Nawrocki's first stop during his London visit on Monday. TVP World took the opportunity to speak to those of Polish origin about the perception of Poland and the UK, particularly as the Telegraph just called Poland a European superpower, attracting a record number of UK immigrants.
British people are kind of pointing this out quite often, that Poland, where they call it a third world country, in the past they're saying like, oh, now we almost equal to them, especially comparing to employment.
Karol Nawrocki's UK visit continues on Tuesday when he is meeting the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Their talks will focus on security issues, including peace in Ukraine. From London, for TVP World, I'm Sonia Agata-Biszczan.
Not one, but now two former Polish ministers, fugitives under Polish law, have found refuge in Hungary. Zbigniew Ziobro, ex-justice minister under the Law and Justice government, has sought asylum in Budapest while facing charges of embezzlement and leading a criminal group. He joins his former deputy, Marcin Romanowski, deepening the rift between Poland and Hungary. Our correspondent Andrew Sweeney has more.
What do Polish former Deputy Minister Marcin Romanowski, ex-Prime Minister of North Macedonia Nikola Gruevski, and former Minister of Justice of Poland Zbigniew Ziobro have in common? All three have been granted political asylum by Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban after fleeing charges ranging from fraud, abuse of power and misuse of funds.
The former Minister of Justice, Mr. Ziobro, who was the mastermind of the political corruption system, has asked the government of Viktor Orban for political asylum. A logical choice.
Ziobro is accused of misappropriating over €35 million in public funds. He faces 26 charges, including establishing and leading a criminal organisation. A member of the Law and Justice Party, Ziobro led the Justice Ministry between 2015 and 2023. He denies the charges against him.
I have decided to remain abroad until genuine guarantees of the rule of law are restored in Poland. I believe that instead of acquiescing to being silenced and subjected to a torrent of lies, which I would have no opportunity to refute, I can do more by fighting the mounting lawlessness in Poland.
Hungary's government believes him, and Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó claims that other Polish citizens have been granted asylum along with Ziobro.
Democracy and the rule of law are in crisis in Poland, noting that many people are subject to political persecution. Hungary has received asylum requests from Poland and has approved several of them, granting asylum or refugee status while withholding names to protect those concerned.
Ziobro joins his former deputy, Romanowski, in Budapest. He fled to Hungary's capital in 2024 while facing multiple charges of fraud and abuse of power. A court in Warsaw is expected to rule on issuing an arrest warrant for Ziobro on January 15th. If a warrant is issued in Poland, a European arrest warrant may be issued as well. According to law.pl, Hungary will be legally bound to consider the arrest warrant despite Ziobro's status as an asylum seeker. For TVP World, Andrew Sweeney.
The development of Poland's first nuclear power plant is moving ahead on schedule and expected to come online in a decade, according to Polish Finance Minister Andrzej Domański. Speaking on TVP World's On the Record, Domański said that the government wants to accelerate preparations and investing billions in the power grid to accommodate the growing share of the green energy.
Frankly, no, there are no delays. Our government really speed up with preparation for the process of building of the first Polish nuclear power plant. It should be ready 2036, so it's a long term. Having said that, we need to accelerate it, and we will spend billions of Polish zloty in order to finance it. But it's not only about building a new generation sources like wind farms or solar panels on nuclear. It's also about investing billions of euro in energy grid. Our government managed to unlock European funds from the so-called RRF system in order to finance clean energy transition, and billions of euros are invested right now.
Last Friday, Warsaw opened a new cultural venue, the Dance Pavilion, a museum of modern art project devoted to contemporary dance. Backed by City Hall, it has a year to prove itself before becoming a permanent fixture of the city's art scene. Karolina Shapland reports.
A new name is stepping into the cultural limelight. In Warsaw's already trendy Powiśle district stands a striking white cube now hosting a new institution, Pawilon Tańca, the Dance Pavilion. Its curators have now just 1 year to convince Warsaw City Hall that Poland's capital needs a permanent home devoted entirely to contemporary dance and choreography.
This pilot year of the Pavilion for Dance and other performing arts is a testing ground, drawing on choreographic centers from across Europe and beyond. It will bring together original premieres, international co-productions, workshops, social dances, and a rich program of education and outreach.
If its opening weekend is anything to go by, Dance Pavilion is capable of attracting some of the most respected names in contemporary choreography. But its mission goes beyond showcasing established talent. It also aims to attract the people of Warsaw, the young, the elderly, and those who don't always feel welcome in mainstream cultural spaces. That idea drew nearly 1,500 visitors to the opening weekend, from the venerable Polish drag icon, 87-year-old Lula La Polaka,
I think it's a wonderful event.
to young dance fans.
My name is Natalia, and I really like to dance.
The Dance Pavilion has entered Warsaw cultural scene with real momentum, but its future will depend on whether Warsawians embrace its vision of diversity and openness.
And with that, we conclude this edition of World News. Thanks for watching, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.